everybody? Welcome back to Guitar Nation Tone Check. Usually we have Joshua Gao in front of the camera shaking his head like that, showcasing us some of the guitars, and then we have a playthrough. But this week we're trying something a little bit different. We're going to try something a bit special. We're going to do this kind of talk show podcasting. So we're going to get Joshua to tell us a little bit more about these the guitars that we want to feature this week. But before I do that, I'm going to introduce Joshua to you guys a little bit. If you already don't know who Joshua is the big boss, the tech of Guitar Nation. I've known this guy for many, many years already, and I've been sending guitars to him like how many years was I can count already? I think 5-6 years already, and he's always showed up, and it's always makes my guitar play a lot better. So if you guys have any tech needs or tech questions, or if you just want to talk about gear, all things general, you can just hit us up. Both me and Joshua, we love to guess for you. So the whole point of this platform is essentially that we are guessers, right? Everyone's a guesser, so we just want to share that guess conversation with you, because me and Joshua have had conversations about guitars that last up to hours. So we'll try not to make this an hour. We'll try. The last take we did it went up to an hour. We'll try.
We won't do too much poopy guessing. We won't do too much poopy guessing. Okay, we'll guess properly this time.
We'll guess properly this time. We'll guess the direction.
If there ever is any kind of like proper guessing lah.
Okay, so Joshua, this week we're talking about something special. So Eastman guitars, right? So if anybody out there doesn't know Eastman guitar, Joshua, why don't you give us a quick explanation on what is Eastman guitars?
So Eastman guitars, they are basically a handmade manufacturer of guitars. Handmade meaning the factory is very small. There's like 500 to 600 workers making guitars every day. They make acoustics, they make jazz boxes, they make solid bodies and all that kind of stuff now. Rough history is the founder of Eastman was a classical flutist. Then he got in touch with a lot of musicians back in the day when he used to do all of his studies abroad with like musicians in the music colleges and all that kind of stuff. So he had a lot of like experiences, and then with all of that experience he brought it back to China. His family actually also runs like a woodworking kind of factory, so we're putting both of that together really actually made a lot of sense, because in the US back in the day everyone was still looking for an affordable but also reasonable good quality instrument. So that was where he targeted the whole Eastman brand. So the Eastman brand started off with a couple of like handmade jazz boxes and mandolins and violas and all that kind of stuff, and they slowly grew from there. Eastman is still very famous for their jazz boxes. You can see them all around from Japan to Europe and the UK. You can see them everywhere. Then they slowly did an acoustic section, like an acoustic department, like making acoustics, like very vintage acoustics, starting I think about almost 15 years ago. And then they started doing their solid bodies maybe sometime 3-4 years back. So they're very new to the game. They're not very like super heritage kind of like level of like they had years and years, but they've had years of hand making quality instruments. So that's what they translated it into, bringing into their solid bodies, into their acoustics. So they make really, really great stuff for affordable pricing for a handmade and quality instrument. So that's Eastman in a nutshell lah.
Yeah, they're quite new to the game. They're quite new to the game in a sense, like you say, a heritage brand, but they've had years behind their back on making instruments.
They've had years of like carving tops, making set neck kind of level guitars and all that kind of stuff. So they're pretty seasoned in that area lah. So that's why making solid bodies and acoustics are pretty much normal for them.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. So they, like Jenna just mentioned, right? They just entered the solid body game 3-4 years ago with the SB55 that took the world by storm. I mean, of course, we've seen a lot of single cuts rendition, but this is Eastman's take on a single cut and a single cut style guitar, and it had a varnish finish on it, and it's crazy. There's like bursts and came with Lollars or bare knuckles. It's a crazy spec'd out guitar, but not just spec'd out, but wonderfully made instrument. So last year, I think, right, sometime around last year, they came out with something a bit special, and they noticed that, whoa, why don't we give this a try? So I'm gonna reveal the guitars to you. What's the guitar we'll be talking about today? Are you ready?
It's new to us. It's new to us. Yeah. So it's the juniors. It's the fabled rockstar rock and roll juniors.
They come in two types. One is the LP junior style single cut, and one is the double cut. So if you see like that pedal show mix Collins, or like Billy Joe Armstrong with his Green Day, it's this kind of guitar. Oh, and they look
or like
amazing.
Jared J. Nichols,
Oh, like Jared J.
yeah,
Nichols.
Jared J. Nichols, yeah. So like a few people in the scene has like started with a single pickup solid slab body kind of wraparound design nowadays. Yeah, it's a plug and play, man. It's
It's a
a
plug and play.
very cool guitar plug and play.
So Josh, why don't you just give us a quick history on about the Junior? Even like Gibson Juniors, where did this idea of a single pickup, no stop tail, I mean wraparound, sorry, not stop tail, wraparound bridge guitar came about? What's the idea behind it?
Basically it's a student model. So when Gibson first came out with the Les Paul, they wanted to kind of share it around and like kind of get it into the hands of students back in the day. So back in like the old school days, student models like this one, something similar to this one, like Gibson used to make a Junior. Junior used to have like a single pickup, wraparound, and all that kind of funky stuff. And it was great for students. Students had like, there were even like cases where some people got the guitar and an amp together, like a set. A Gibson amp together. So it was really for students at the beginning. But then after that, I think like during the early 60s towards the 70s, when like rockers were like, okay, cool, let's just try this out. And then they plugged it in, they heard like this awesome tone coming out from this small little guitar going into a small little amp, and the amp was going towards breaking, but then it sounded so great for rock. So it just started from there, I guess. And then slowly you see people from Keith Richards, you've seen people from you see everyone from Green Day, you've seen everyone from The Who. All of them basically started using juniors in their sets. Some had double cuts, some had single cuts. I guess it was preference, but to a lot of people, I think the single cut junior is the most iconic. Like the one in the Sunburst is because that one's the one that attracts people the most at first. You don't see a lot of double cut juniors, a lot like that one you're holding, but those are cool so occasionally.
Won't lie, the wood grains on this is just whew.
Yeah, we'll I mean like Eastman got choice woods lah. They got some very good choices of woods, man. Seriously.
This is mahogany, right? Mahogany, full mahogany slab.
It's one piece of Okoume mahogany. So Okoume is a very lightweight mahogany. So the guitars don't weigh like heavy Les Paul kind of weights.
For a slab body guitar, I mean you own a slab body telly, and every time I pick it up, I'm feeling like I'm going to the gym again.
Yeah.
But when I pick this up, in fact, every Eastman guitar that I pick up from even their SB59, I'm astounded at their weight. And I think you mentioned this before, right? That Eastman guitars they will usually ship out their guitars that are way less than 8 pounds, right? They won't let a guitar slightly more than 8 pounds really go out, because they want to keep that, because they choose their woods to make sure that their guitar are tonally resonant, at the same time lightweight.
Yeah. So Les Pauls go for about what? 9, 8. I mean, the lightest will be 8, but then they start at maybe 9 pounds to 12. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had Les Pauls that come in the shop and it's like 11 pounds, and it's like you carry it just like, oh my god, my back.
And the crazy thing about Eastman is that their guitars are not they're not chambered. Then like even the ones with the maple top ones, they're not like they don't have those featherweight light holes and all that kind of stuff.
There's no like weight relief chambering. It's
no weight relief,
solid,
no chamber.
right?
Yeah, so it's a full solid one piece slab body, and like sometimes they use a one piece maple top sometimes. So even with that, it's still around the 8 pound mark, which is reasonable.
So now we just shared a little bit of history on the SB55. By the way, this model is called 55 because the Junior came out around 54, 55, but we like to think that 54 is when it came out. 55 is when it kind of hit stores and took the world by storm, right? 55, 56, where, like you said, a lot of guys that didn't want to damage their Les Pauls and wanted a machine that could just plug and go, right? So quick spec rundown on this guitar. Right. If you already can see, it's like just how Josh said, it's an Okoume body. So maybe Josh, what if from head to toe, tell us a little bit about what's the specs of this SB55. I'm gonna pick up the Sunburst one.
So starting from the headstock, so Eastman's standard line of solid bodies, they all feature they all feature ebony fingerboards, bone nuts. This one particularly for the SB55 comes with Fabers. So Faber Hardware is actually a German-made company. So they have, like, you see those buttons, those metal buttons. Yeah. So the traditional Gibsons come with the white buttons which shrink over time, but they decided to go with the metal one so they don't spoil. And then the wraparound is also a Faber Hardware bridge. It's also an intonatable bridge. So it's a Faber intonatable bridge. You can see there's like a couple
It's
of like
compensated,
cuts,
right?
compensated
Intonated.
cut slots there. Yeah. So it's a really cool, like, thing that usually, the stuff that plagues juniors most of the time, they kind of solve lah with this build. So with the machine heads and then with the wraparound, at the same time it has a one piece Okoume mahogany with a one piece neck, and comes with a Lollar dogear P90. This is the Lollar 50s one, which is a very sweet and, like, very low outputish kind of like P90, but it does the job. It has a lot of like clarity and like really power to it as well still.
They've I mean we've played guitars that are like we have experienced woolly thick humbuckers, chimey bright single coils, and we could definitely agree that P90s are definitely one of those middle sounding in the middle between those two. It has that
Yep.
single coil chime, like when you were saying that when you played it and jamming through it, right? It was bright, but not ear cutting, piercing kind of bright, but it cuts the mix. It cuts no matter what distortion level you put in, like when you're running your fuzz with your overdrive, with reverb and delay, and it still cuts. You can, when you play a single note, you can hear that chord ring. Oh, it's in tune. Oh, it's resonant.
Yeah. So the pickups are very responsive. So I think the special thing about juniors were that with the volume knob and also with the tone knob, just to one pickup, it created this very like seamless kind of like control, and also like the pickup had a lot of room to work with just because
Low
it has one pickup.
resistance, right? Because like you said, there's no other pickup on the circuit.
There's no other pickup, and also like the circuit is very simple, it's very straightforward. So the pickup is very, very responsive, I feel, just because of that. And then also at the same time, Eastman has a very special kind of wiring setup that they did for this one. So they use a typical volume and tone, but the tone is it's a no load tone pot. So there's a click, where you can click it all the way to 10, and then after that it basically just opens up the tone. It takes away the tone circuit out of the circuit, and then it creates like just the pickup into the volume and into the output jack. So it doesn't there's no resistance from the capacitor. There's nothing there. So basically you just drive straight home all the way. So it's crazy cut through tones lah for rock.
You can actually feel the click one, right? You can actually feel the click when you just, let's see, I can get an ASMR.
Yeah, so some, I think like some Fenders also have the no load tone pots for their, some people wired it to the bridge and stuff. So
the Esquire Telly is sort of that, right? People look at it and it's like it's a single pickup, but why is there still three-way? Because one of the option is a tone cut, sort of like roll off tone, open, and then all the way down is like a completely bypass the circuit, right? It's just pick up straight to the jack.
Yeah, so it's a lot of capacitors. Like when you open up like old Esquires and stuff, you can see a lot of like old school capacitors, and then how they wire it, because with different capacitors they will affect like the tone pots, and they'll affect the volume, and they'll affect the pickup also. So it's a lot of experimenting to what kind of tone you like. But we really like these SB55s because they're very stable, I feel. Like they, in terms of like a junior build, like the tone and everything.
Intonation wise, I've been playing this for a couple of weeks now. It stays in tune really well. Intonation is spot on. I've never played a junior that, because I have tried a few juniors outside, like even Gibsons or even some Collings and things like that. And intonation wise, never really stuck, especially the higher up you go, right? But for this guitar, Eastman really hit the mark with Faber. They collaborated with Faber to come up with something that really stays in tune and intonates well, right? So Jenna, you were mentioning about the tone part, right? It's a no load tone part, is it?
Yeah.
So you can hear there is a click that goes.
Like a very subtle one, very subtle one. And then certain no load tone pots, they some no load tone pots also got no clicks one sometimes, but it still generally works the same lah. So when you roll it all the way up or you roll it all the way down to a player, you can hear that slight kind of like volume, not something like almost like a tone boost, like a volume and tone boost. Like it actually gives you more cut, like more headroom to cut through. So it's a really cool feature on it lah. And then with the double cut, it's even better because double cut you can reach to the higher frets because of the double cut. Look, like the fret access is crazy lah. Yeah, so like it's a cool guitar, man. It's a really cool guitar.
If you play any higher than this, you're just playing
you're playing harmonics lah. Maybe you're playing harmonics up there, but it's a very cool guitar. It's a very lightweight guitar. It's generally, I think one of like if we see when we see this model and we look at how simple it is, we're so happy to see it because Eastman went from like doing two pickup, single cut body types, and then now they're experimenting with one pickup body types. And usually one pickup body types, I mean, to a lot of players, they don't get it lah because one pickup you cannot do a lot. But to see Eastman do this with like just a Faber hardware and Lollar, and the amount of tone that can come out from the guitar is just crazy. Like I think we'll have our friend Josh playing a few a few licks on it, right? So we'll get to see like the amount of crazy tones that can just come out from one pickup and like one volume and one tone, man.
It's mad. It's mad.
Yeah,
We had a conversation that day. We were saying that single pickup guitars are actually not as limiting as you think, but
yeah,
it is a challenging guitar in the sense where it challenges your playing ability, right? Because most guitars come with dual pickup. You can go for like a neck or even a three pickup guitar, neck, middle. That
yep,
whereas a junior style guitar, you have to work the hands. You realize there's so much more to guitar than just pickup switching, right? You can play all the way up the neck, you can play all the way down at the bridge and get completely different sounds, rolling that volume down, rolling that tone down. Even you really, really have to force yourself to work with the guitar. And it's a
yep,
very creatively stimulating guitar.
yep. I mean, if you're a guy that played neck pickups for a while, then you pretty much need to kind of get used to it after a while. Like maybe mess around with it for a couple of days, then you get used to it. But if you're looking for a guitar that can just plug and play like rock all the way, then pretty much this guitar can do it. Like I mean, like you can keep everything at 10. You can just leave the tone pot at 10, the volume at 10, plug it in straight, put your amp at 10, then you can just drive it home, man. Drive it home with crazy rock tones all the way. It's crazy like it's a really really cool design, like to see, especially to see Eastman try something like from just doing typical single cut body stuff, with two pickups and all that kind of stuff, to see them try to step out and like try other kind of like designs as well is really really cool. So this is one example, and to make a junior is actually very complex because juniors are, even though it's a slab body and it's a whatever, right, but it's still a set neck design. And the bridge is just a wraparound, so there's a limit to how low the bridge can go also, because the pickup is mounted to the body instead of adjustable, so you can't really move the pickup up and down. So there's a limit to how the bridge can go and stuff like that. So the neck angle has to be right, everything has to be right to a certain point for you to even do a proper setup on guitars like this, like the old school Gibson, sometimes they hit and miss occasionally. Some Gibsons, we know, like back in the old days, like the action has to be high because of how the neck angle was back in the day. But a lot of like the Eastmans we get, they make sure like the neck angle's right and everything. So it's sort of like a homage to paying homage to like an old school design, like a vintage build, but at the same time it's also like a really really cool modern take on like a vintage build lah.
Eastman flexing. Eastman flexing is like,
Yeah,
guys,
yeah,
we can because like you say, really one thing about juniors, as you search history videos online, right? Juniors aren't that easy to set up. They're not well intonated. You can get really, really low
yeah,
action. But Eastman did something right here that the action could go to like you were saying, right? You set this one up. The stock one comes at about 1.752 to 1.5 ish the action. So it's relatively high. But you managed to set this up to about your standard, which is about 1.5 to 1, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yes, and one thing crazy about Eastman, despite that one being a high action one, the other one, it doesn't feel tough to play because I think the wraparound really helps with that.
Yeah. So wraparound is really fun because wraparound basically it takes away the break angle almost. Because when you wrap it around, the break angle is pretty much immediate or like non-existent. It depends on how you see it lah. But to me, it's almost like the break angle is non-existent,
It gives
and
it
it's just
quite a
basically
slinky
sitting.
feeling despite being high action.
Yeah, and it's one with tens, and then playing it. I think when the single cut and the double cut first came, both of them were set up to factory standard, which was about the 1.75 on the bass side, and then to about 1.2 or 1.3 on the treble side. So it's pretty much the factory standard spec, which is okay action, playable. But then with some that want lower action, it's still doable. That's why I've tested it on the double cut. The double cut can go to 1.5 and 1. The lowest both can go, I think, would probably be 1. But that would start, your typical shredder kind of like strat bus kind of stuff lah. Yeah, but it's a really really cool, comfy neck. I played both, really really awesome. The neck fits just right lah. But that's preference, neck preference, man.
Yeah. One more quick one is that you said that the pickup position is not like your normal guitar. That's in terms of the distance to the neck, right? From a bridge to the neck.
Yeah.
Because usually there is a neck pickup here, and that will have to force the bridge to go down a little bit. The whole thing had to move down a little bit, but because there is no neck, this whole thing could go up a little bit, and that just adds a whole different voicing to the guitar as well. Right?
So with the neck pickup, with usual guitars with neck pickups, they gotta like kind of make sure that the spacing's right, so intonation points are correct and stuff like that. So the Junior, as simple as it looks, it's really not that simple to kind of design and make. Gibson basically got a hit and miss also. Like they wanted a student model, and that's how they got a student model, by cutting some stuff out of the guitar. But ultimately, they it's one of those happy accidents. They ultimately made a very happy rock and roll machine. Yeah, and everyone who's ever seen like other single cut or double cut or even like single pickup kind of guitars, like brands like Novo, brands like Revolta, and like all these other kind of like out there brands, they're also making manufacturing guitars with just one pickup. So that's really, really cool.
One thing I also want to check with you is this is a varnish finish, right?
Yeah, it's a varnish finish. So varnish is hand
explain a little bit about varnish.
Yeah, so varnish finish is that you can see it's red now is because what they do is that they actually put a sealer, like a colored sealer on the body, and then it changes the color of the wood. So mahogany, you can basically sort of like dye mahogany, or you can stain mahogany in a certain color. Like this one, you see they actually applied the color on first before they actually put the varnish on. So you can see it's not that glossy. It looks worn in, has that open wood kind of feel. You still can feel the grains through the finish. It's not super thick because the varnish is actually a hand rubbed varnish finish. So it's added on by hand. Like usually in the factory, there's only like a few couple of people there that can actually just do varnish finish for Eastman. So it's a very particular kind of finish. So it's hand rubbed, and then it varies. Most of the time, the varnish breathes a little bit better than nitro sometimes, because nitro is sprayed on fresh, sometimes gloss lacquer. Varnish is hand rubbed. It can be done maybe like a couple of coats and then you're done. Just a couple of coats of varnish and you're done. And the guitar looks, great. It's protected, from everything. The wood sings, the wood resonates. It looks fine. Yeah, it's great lah. It's great. I mean, the Varnish series, and the best part of Varnish series is that it doesn't have like some crazy kind of like overwhelming smell like some other finishes have. But that's why the Varnish is really cool.
You're right.
Yeah. But over time, it will have a smell. Over time, varnishes, like if you store it in the hard case and stuff, then it will generate that smell. But
anything you put in a hard case over time will have a smell.
Yeah. I mean, because it's trapped in there anyway, so yeah, no choice lah.
Yeah. One thing, varnish is also something that Eastman puts on their violins, right? So already they put it on acoustic instruments because an acoustic instrument you can just slap nitro. I mean, it's a different process altogether, right? So they will hand rub varnish on their violins. So the violins are naturally more resonant instruments. So with that same applied technology, they put it on their guitars, right? It actually makes guitar, like I've never played a guitar as resonant compared to any varnish guitar from Eastman, like even the SB55V that's in the shop, also the bare knuckles. It's one of the most resonant Les Paul. Like you could literally just put it in your body and just go one chord and you can feel the whole guitar shake.
Yeah, because it's also because of wood choices and like how the guitars over like total overall build. Yeah, having it made proper is what makes it ring lah. That's the thing.
It's crazy because when we talk about recently like Murphy Lab, Tom Murphy guitars like that, right? It's all about the goal of making guitar feel really played in. And I'm gonna be honest, I've never tried a Murphy Lab guitar, so I can't judge from what it's. But from what people tell me, it feels played. It doesn't just look Relic; it feels played in, right? Whereas for me, because I've never tried it, every Eastman with the varnish finish feels more like a played guitar. Like in my head, when I think a played in guitar feels like, I think this one. It has slight roll edges, also slightly roll edges. Jessica frets, also nickel frets.
Yep.
Ebony fretboard. It feels like a played guitar, but doesn't feel run down. It doesn't feel. It still feels like if I pull out the case, it feels like a new guitar, but that just played in a new guitar that's played in.
Yeah, relic guitars are not meant to sort of like mimic the thing. It's meant to have a look. It's an appearance. Like it's a tasteful touch. It's a tasteful touch. Yeah, we'll get into relics another day. But to to a lot of people, like especially to me, I think relics are just that tasteful touch to make the guitar look like it has mojo. But
Yeah.
it's still up to the player to like make the kind of like build up its own mojo. You know, like for example, relic guitars, I feel to me it's just that it's a guitar that looks and feels like it's been played in. So I don't have to like kind of baby it. You know, like how new guitars you baby it, you're like, oh man, I gotta put this in the case softly.
One ding on it and you go like,
Yeah, well, like one small little like scratch or whatever, then you're like, oh my goodness, and like
send to
you
Joshua for
panic.
buffing.
No, don't buff it, don't buff it, man, don't buff it. Just leave it on the guitar. It's relic. Yeah, so I think with how Eastman does it, or like with even with any other manufacturers that do relics, I think that's the whole goal of relics, is to make the guitar feel like that it can get a mojo, but you have to add your own mojo. Like don't baby the guitar too much.
Yep, for sure. So
Yeah.
just that some final thoughts on this SB55, right, Josh? Any final thoughts before we close off and let Josh Wong play off and just show us what the guitar can do? Any final thoughts?
No, no. I think pretty much we'll let the guitar speak for itself lah. We'll let Josh play like some tones and everything.
Right. What's the pricing on these right now? For if you want to get a new from Guitar Nation.
Yeah.
By the way, these two models are new. They're completely new. They're not mine. I don't own them. I'm just using them for reference in this video. But what's the pricing on this?
I think 6575. Like that's
657
the
around
retail going for both. Yeah, we both with hard case.
Comes with a really, really good looking leather hard case. That's also slightly aged also.
Yeah, it's a vintage looking hard case lah. It's a really, really cool vintage hard case. But yeah, lor, so I think Eastman really hit it out of the park with this. Like, it's a very simple build, it's a very simple guitar, but it's for those who really want something different in the arsenal of collections, I think. Something to really maybe consider. Like, you can see how all the other players, like we've mentioned, like Jared Jim Nichols, like how he can rock out with just one pickup and playing with the tone and the volume. It's really,
The
really
single
cool.
pickup trend is coming back. Red Shaw just got his one. Mythos Zach Broyles also just got his Novo also.
Yeah.
Single
Then
pickup trend is coming back.
Joey Landreth getting one, bro.
Landreth.
Joey Landreth getting one more Sorokin, bro. Fool.
Speaking of Sorokin and Junior, Sorokin that himself is making a junior style guitar of his own take.
Yeah.
He's even crazier. Like, Eastman are pretty crazy in being a purist vintage taste. They even go this is a Bakelite, right? Bakelite.
So the pickups, so the pick guards on both are actually Bakelite material. So Bakelite is a very like vintage plastic lah. Those who have like understandings of like the old school black guards and stuff, those are what the black guards are made out of Bakelite. Like those black guards on the old black guard tellies, they are made out of Bakelite, which shrink and crack and everything over time.
That's why it's really not just a guitar that's like why 6575 656 around there lah, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like 2K even though it's a Chinese guitar, because Eastman goes to great lengths to engineer and build your guitar to detail a great instrument. It's not I'm not saying it's like very expensive guitar, neither is a very cheap guitar, but it's a guitar that you need to understand that's been made with love and detail lah, right? That these guys they care for the details one. Yeah. So cool.
So always check out eastmanguitars.com. Check out our page, Guitar Nation also. Get in touch with us if you guys are interested with any Eastmans. Eastmans is one of those guitars that they're really, really new in the market right now, but they're superb, man, right now. Like, they are really, really cool guitars coming out, and it's crazy. And we look forward to like any kind of new models now also. They might have a new model next year. We don't know, man. Like NAMM can happen already next year in the US, so we never know.
We've heard rumors about something along like a we don't know. I mean, they just came out with the gold foil one. What's that called? The Romero?
It's the Romeo LA, the new color, the blue one with the less trim design kind of tremolo. It's a really cool thing. So check out eastmanguitars.com and check out our page for details and stuff. Always hit us up if you guys see anything interesting. And of course anytime is good to guess.
Yeah. Hopefully this lockdown won't take further long and we could do this physically. With Joshua and things like that.
Right? Yeah, I know, right?
And then we could even find a way to do a live stream with you guys also, maybe one day. Who knows?
Yeah. But for now we'll just leave it with, you know, Josh Wong playing the tones and then us talking about the guitar. Then, you know, and then we let you guys Google some of the stuff yourself lah, or maybe ask us, you know, whatever way lah, whatever way you want.
Whatever way. All right, thanks guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Guitar Nation YouTube channel. We are trying to get more and more videos out as much as possible. But again, due to the lockdown, things have slowed down a little bit because me and Joshua can meet also. So hard to get guitars around also. So, but nonetheless, we hope everyone is out there staying safe and doing well. Again, if you have any gear, guests, or in fact anything you just want to talk about with me and Joshua, just hit us up anytime, and we'd be more than happy to just talk with you and do live with you and just chit chat all things gear anyway. Right.
Yep.
Follow us on our Instagram, Guitar Nation Malaysia, Facebook, Guitar Nation Malaysia as well. Links right below here. That's all, guys. Enjoy the video. This is me and Joshua signing out.
Take care. Stay safe. Let us know if you guys need anything.
Ciao.
Ciao. Bye-bye.